Okay, so, we love when you send us these deep dives, and this one's really interesting. It's about this YouTube video you sent us from the Glenn Kirshner channel. And it's all this, like, political commentary, the kind of stuff we love to break down. So what we're going to do is, try to really extract the key insights here, the what the source calls points of light.
Yeah, I love that framing points of light is kind of optimistic, right? Like even when things seem a little bit dark, there's these like glimmers of hope.
Exactly. So the video is titled, Supreme Court Delivers Trump a Loss in First Case to Make It Up to the High Court. So right off the bat, we see like some strong opinions. It's going to be fascinating to unpack this.
Yeah, no kidding. And this particular case is significant for a few reasons. The first being that it's the first case involving Trump that's actually reached the Supreme Court since he started his current term.
Oh, wow. So this is like the first time the Supreme Court's had to deal with him directly since he got back in?
Exactly. And the ruling itself revolves around Hampton Dellinger.
Okay, remind me who Dillinger is again.
Right, so he's the head of the Office of Special Counsel. It's an independent agency that investigates claims from whistleblowers, people inside the government who report wrongdoing.
Ah, okay, so like a government watchdog.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, Dellinger was appointed by Biden back in 2024 for a 5-year term. But shortly after Trump returned to power, he was fired.
Fired, like just like that.
Well, reportedly, it was done by email by White House officials.
Wow, via email. That's harsh.
Yeah, it does seem a bit abrupt.
Okay.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The Supreme Court actually declined to back Trump's appeal to immediately remove Dellinger.
Really? So even with the court's conservative majority, they didn't side with Trump?
Nope, at least not in this instance. CNN even ran with headlines like, Supreme Court rules that government watchdog fired by Trump may temporarily remain on the job. And another one saying that the court dashed President Donald Trump's plan to immediately fire the head of an independent agency, allowing Hampton Dellinger to remain in the job through at least the middle of next week.
So they basically put a hold on things?
Exactly. And while it might be temporary, the source definitely sees it as a loss for Trump. They even use the phrase nominally sided with Dellinger, which kind of suggests that there might be more to the court's reasoning than meets the eye.
So it's like they hit the pause button, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're fully supporting Dellinger either.
Right. It's more about limiting Trump's immediate power in this specific situation. It could be a sign that even this conservative court is hesitant to give you completely free rein.
That's a very interesting point. It kind of suggests there might be some internal checks and balances even within a court that's considered favorable to him.
Exactly. And, speaking of checks and balances, the source also talks about this other fascinating development with a federal judge in New York, Judge Dale Ho.
Oh, yeah. What was that about again?
Well, it's about this case involving Mayor Eric Adams. And Judge Ho took this unusual step of appointing an attorney to represent the interests of we the people.
The interests of we the people? That sounds pretty serious.
It is. And it really caught people's attention. The headlines from Politico and the New York Post were pretty telling. Politico said, Judge taps top Supreme Court lawyer to present adversarial arguments on DOJ's bid to drop Eric Adams' case. And the Post went with, Judge appoints attorney to fight DOJ's bid to dismiss historic case.
So basically the judge is making sure there's a strong voice arguing against dropping the case, even though the DOJ wants to dismiss it?
Precisely. It's like he's adding an extra layer of scrutiny to make sure the public interest is being considered.
Wow, that's pretty remarkable. It definitely seems like he's going above and beyond to ensure a fair and thorough process.
Absolutely. And it raises some interesting questions about the role of the judiciary in holding the executive branch accountable. You don't see a judge proactively doing this every day.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's definitely a point of light in terms of judicial oversight and transparency. Now, the source also mentions a third point of light, but it seems a little more complicated.
Yeah, this was about Kash Patel. He was just confirmed for a pretty important position.
Oh, right. I remember hearing about that. What was it again?
He was confirmed as FBI director. And the source kind of jokes that that in itself isn't the point of light.
Oh, so there's something more to it than just his confirmation.
Exactly. The concern is that he might come in with this enemies list mentality and try to pressure FBI agents to go after Trump's political opponents without proper justification.
Like without actual evidence.
Right, without what they call adequate predication, which basically means you need a solid legal and factual basis before you can even open an investigation.
So it's about preventing these politically motivated witch hunts.
Exactly. Now, the source even mentions this quote from Patel, where he supposedly said that he'd walk into FBI headquarters, shut it down on day 1, and reopen it on day 2 as a museum of the deep state.
Whoa, hold on. Did he really say that? A museum of the deep state. That sounds kind of wild.
Yeah, the source called it insane. And to be honest, it does raise concerns about his temperament and his approach to leading a major law enforcement agency.
Right. It's not exactly reassuring to hear that kind of talk about the FBI, regardless of your political views.
Agreed. So with all these concerns swirling around, you're probably wondering where the point of light is in all of this.
Yeah, I'm a little lost on that one.
Well, the source finds it in the good men and women of the FBI. The idea is that these agents take their oath to the Constitution very seriously, and they wouldn't just blindly follow orders to investigate people without a legitimate reason.
So it's like a faith in the integrity of the FBI itself to resist any potential political pressure.
Exactly. They're relying on the internal checks and balances within the institution to make sure things are done by the book.
That's a really interesting perspective. It's like saying that even if there are bad actors at the top, the system itself has safeguards in place.
Right. And it's a more nuanced point of light than the previous ones, because it acknowledges the potential for darkness while also highlighting the expected resilience of the institution.
It's like a cautious optimism.
Exactly. Now, beyond these specific events, the source also brings up another point of light. This time, it has to do with Trump's polling numbers.
Oh, yeah. What's the latest on that front?
Well, according to the Washington Post, public opinion on many of his policies and initiatives is pretty mixed, leaning towards negative. And a significant portion of those polled, something like 57%, believe he's overstepped his authority since taking office.
Wow. So his approval ratings are taking a hit.
Yeah, and the source points out that they seem to be getting worse by the day, especially compared to some earlier polls that showed him in a more favorable light.
That's got to be a concern for him and his supporters.
Definitely. And the source sees this shift in public opinion as a potential point of light, because it suggests that people are paying attention and maybe starting to push back.
Yeah, it's a reminder that public sentiment can have a real impact on the political landscape.
Absolutely. Now, it's important to remember that the source frames all of these points of light against a backdrop of what they call Trump-induced darkness. They're not pretending that everything is rosy.
Right. They're acknowledging the challenges, but also highlighting these potential glimmers of hope.
Exactly. And they emphasize the importance of not just acknowledging the darkness, but also calling it out and fighting against it.
And they're putting their money where their mouth is right. They mentioned moving to Substack to be able to speak more freely.
Yeah, it's a way for them to engage directly with the public and contribute to the conversation outside of traditional media structures.
So to sum it up, this deep dive into the YouTube video has really uncovered some fascinating points of light. The Supreme Court decision that put a check on Trump's power, Judge Ho's unusual move to ensure public interest is represented, the faith in the FBI's integrity, and the shifting public opinion that could potentially signal change.
Exactly. And all of this is happening against the backdrop of acknowledged challenges and concerns. It's a really complex and dynamic situation.
And, especially for those of us who are interested in political and social commentary, these developments offer valuable insights into the different forces at play within the system.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even in what might seem like dark times, there are always people and institutions working to uphold values and principles.
So as we wrap up, here's something to think about. As you consider these points of light and the darkness they're set against, what role do you see individual actions playing in shaping the future, both within institutions like the FBI and through independent analysis and commentary like what we're doing here? Where do you think the most effective leverage points are for creating positive change? And how can we all contribute to a more just and equitable society?
Those are great questions. Ones that I think we all need to be grappling with.
Absolutely. And we encourage everyone listening to continue exploring these issues. Yeah. Seek out diverse perspective, engage in thoughtful dialogue, and never stop searching for those points of light that can guide us towards a better future.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for diving in with us today. And until next time, keep those critical thinking caps on.
And keep shining those lights.
See you next time.
Take care.
Bye.